morning, everybody. Very pleased to welcome you to today's panel discussion on CFR in changing business landscape. My name is Hodge. I'm chairman of the Consultation Group. I'm joined today by Craig White, who's CEO of Agile Homes, Bonnie Pollard, who's head of Growing Enterprise Funds Residents, and Angus Fraser, who's CEO of ANC. So I would like to ask each of the panel members to introduce themselves and explain something about their role and what their organisation does. So I'll start with you like this, if I'm then.
Right. As Mark said, I'm Angus Fraser. You can probably tell what I acted over New Zealander. Our company is MMC Home Building. We are building social housing and employing prisoners and ex-offenders to do it. The idea of trying to reintegrate them into society. It's also part of our attempt to alleviate the housing problems that we've got. We've designed a range of relocatable homes that we are putting onto land owned by councils for them known as temporary accommodation. You might be familiar with that, TA. It's a very big problem for all councils. Government's spending about 1.7 billion a year. A council is responsible, if someone's got the right to live here, the council is responsible for accommodation for them. If there isn't housing, they come under this thing called temporary accommodation. But unfortunately, it's spiraled into people living in homes, bed and breakfasts and things. So we are doing, for a couple of councils, we're doing homes, and literally the families are coming out of hotel rooms and into the houses that we're doing.
So it's a very laudable cause. Ollie, can I ask you to explain your role and what Resonance is all about?
Absolutely, yeah. And then there is, as I was saying, that's a sort of extra common theme. So I'm Ollie Pollard. I'm head of Growing Enterprise Funds at Resonance. Resonance is a UK-based social impact investor. So we currently run 11 separate fund mandates that total about £350 million out of people's money. All the investing we do at our funds is for positive measurable social impact. Now, each fund will have a different area of focus, and we have 3 hubs of funds within those 11. So we have property funds, which are our largest, so 350. It's probably about 325 million of that is in property funds. This is, I'd say, our kind of common theme. So our aim from the beginning was, property funds comes up a number of things in people's minds, real estate, investment trusts, etc. These are very, I call them sort of unsexy structures. Basically, the funds that we have invest in properties, normal properties in the streets, and then we hand those properties over long, patient leases to housing partners or charity partners who are, and at the beginning there was one, there's among those homeless charities. So we work with specialists who understand the beneficiary group, understand who needs to be put in that accommodation, take them out of temporary accommodation and put into real homes and real streets. So the simple bit that we do is we persuade investors to give us the money in the terms that allow us to buy those properties and hand them over to the experts to get full into households. So that's 7 of the 11. That's where we probably see the biggest scale for us to grow, but it's also where we make the smallest difference because we're ultimately scratching the surface in this bigger housing crisis. We then also run community asset development funds, so those are specifically to allow communities to purchase in the leisure, housing, or energy, or construct housing, leisure, or energy assets for themselves, so they also can benefit from the wealth and the cash flows from those assets. And then finally is the enterprise growth fund. So that's where I work, and we work or we invest in social enterprises and charities that trade to help them grow their businesses, grow their revenues, most importantly, grow their impact.
How do I can Craig?
Hello everyone, my name is Craig White, CEO of Agile Homes. So Strapline is we design, we make and we deliver turnkey, low carbon, affordable housing for people that housing need. And that need spectrum goes from formerly homeless people, maybe could be a university graduate and still not afford to live by a city in the UK. And that's the back of that. So in a similar but slightly different way to Angus, we also design and make some of our homes inside prisons, inside prison workshops, working with the Ministry of Justice and HAPS, where we provide skills, training and education. So we provide everything up to what this college provides, so we don't go into their space, but allowing and creating a pathway to employment. And then we have a facility near Cullen, near Abingdon, where we have, alongside non-offending colleagues, we have 13 prisoners who are released on temporary license each day. So when we first started that, we would drive a minibus to pick them up and they'd come to work. And they now drive themselves to or from work. And that we've now actually just graduated our first 3 leavers from that program who've gone on to find work, and one of those becoming work for us. The other thing that we do is that we work with bio-based materials in an agenda to decarbonize buildings. So we timber, straw, and hemp. And in fact, one of the buildings here in this community centre was actually a straw building, not done by us, done by others. So if you can spot which one is made of straw, I'll buy you a copy.
Thank you, Craig. That's I'll take you up on that.
It's a loser's bet.
I make no apology for the fact that there's a common thread through the CSR here, which is been focusing on a built environment and trying to address accommodation routes and linking into social housing need for the likes of refugees, those first away from the accommodation market and the employment market as well. Which also encompasses prison leavers. But Bill Consultation Group is the social enterprise group whose objects are to try and reduce risk of reoffending and to reintegrate prison leavers into their communities or elites. So you can see why the panel is today is constructed as it is, but it is an £80.1 billion a year problem for us taxpayers. So we need to be able to do something about it. And a Bill Consultation Group, we started with a blank sheet of paper and looked at the issue of reducing reoffending and how would you go about it from scratch without any legacy issues. And we came up with our BET and more around engagement, education, training, and foundation. But working with the likes of Craig, Ollie, and Angus, we hope to be able to work with these organisations and hopefully move the dial in some respect for a common social purpose. So my next question then is one for Ollie, because as a fund, you're coming at this from a different perspective. Well, you may not have a corporate social responsibility strategy, but you're very much involved in impact assessment. I wanted to understand how that works and then how that is taken into consideration in investable propositions.
Yeah, well, I think so yeah, I think when I hear CSR, probably as Resonance as a company, we kind of think, well, you know, everything about us was set up in a sense as a social enterprise. So our mission is locked, our assets are locked, our dividends are capped. Yeah, so we kind of start by thinking, well, everything we do is for impact. Our positive impacts are measurable. So probably CSR doesn't count for us, does it? Yes, that's inherent. And I think that probably would have been our start point. But actually, strategically, what we've come to realise is that a few things. Firstly, you do need to be relevant to the CSR movement, and I'll come back to kind of why. But also, we're getting big enough ourselves now. Just the running of our company, but you know, I've got to mention now 12,200 properties nationally, which we've committed to retrofit and renovate to a high standard beyond kind of EPC-based standards. Everyone we get into it, we purchase it, we have a process. So we now have a sort of social model that relates to just managing practical property files that we've come to realise actually represents really important. impact within our own running business, without in a sense of our own CSR agenda. What that looks like for us is being clear that we can work with more social enterprises, charities, who will have less than this reason to do the things that we would otherwise be a subcontractor to businesses out. So that's the big sort of changes that we're starting to try and make real. Now, in the process of doing that, we're also going to realize there's a lot of large corporates that are also trying to do it. So quite a lot of large construction companies, over similar weeks coming to the few, are also looking at their supply chain and looking at their responsibilities under the Social Values Act. And they kind of say, well, one of the cases that we've tried to get 5 social enterprises to national scale in 5 years by helping them in this research, mentoring and things like that. It hasn't quite worked, but we really want social enterprises that are big enough to work with our national scale supply chain. So we sort of realised that our scale is a different works group, but we realised there's a common thing there. So we've started to work strategically with large corporates, partly because of their CSR or social value responsibilities, to give them the opportunity to invest into our funds, to allow us to grow social enterprises doing what we do, to provide growth capital, the expertise of our businesses, to ultimately feed back into this system of supply chain and subcontractors to kind of complete the circle of things. So that's where we've come to realise a running CSR journey in terms of we have an impact just at running businesses and fund manager as a part of the building in the build. But it's a common one with others, and we can actually help large corporates work on their CSR by helping them, by giving them the opportunity to invest in funds, which is a bit boring subject, but we've also got a structure by funds that creates and runs community investment tax relief. So we found this sort of treasury-based policy that we can actually offer tax relief to corporates that is a little sweetener, which there should be sweeteners. If you're doing social good, you'll not get, I think that's a good part. But they get told all the things that we can add to our sort of financial thinking and gaps on and say, well, okay, you want to do good, or the structure then create, you can be incentivized to do it.
Absolutely. And see your interface with large corporates, is that linking into their supply chains and giving opportunities for small organizations such as YCG, the AL Homes or MSC to be able to be involved in that job. So, Angus, can I just ask you the same question about CSR strategy within the business?
Yes, like Ollie, we set up the business to basically do that, to make a positive social impact. So we feel our whole being is that, as you say, but we I'm the odd man out here in the sense that we're actually a limited liability company, not that we've been troubled too much by profits. And which does sort of, it's interesting because we tried to set up a CIC, Community Investment Company, and my goodness, we spent nearly 2 years trying to open a bank account, and some of these new starter banks say, well, we can't bank CICs, and then now NatWest, who we bank with, who said, yes, we'll do that. Of course, we got transferred to their Indian back office, and they couldn't do it, so we actually gave up here. So let's just carry on. With our supply chain, I've tried to focus on the people that are supportive of the environment and all the things we do. We're quite conscious of that. I try to avoid globalization. We try to support local firms to try and feed back into the local communities. I'm probably controversial here. I try to buy nothing from China because I don't agree with some of the things that they're doing in slave labor and things like that. I'm quite an opinionated person, sorry. It's,
being against slave labor doesn't seem too controversial.
And so we are, I guess that is our focus. We try to do those things and align with them, and of course with the people that we use on our downstream, where we are the supplier for them, where I interface with artists, social enterprises of the people, and one in particular is the Bristol together and they're forming the Gloucester together, which we're very keen to support.
Thank you. And do you have a formal CSR policy? Okay.
Look, I'm very lucky in the sense that I'm the founder, I'm the major shareholder. My fellow shareholder is a very large, it's an ESG fund, London-based fund. They got 8.3 billion under management. But they don't even have a representative on board. I'm the sole director, and so the others guys pretty much me.
Great. Same question.
Yes, we do have CSR policy. We're also a limited company, but in our articles of association, we have a mission lock, which doesn't prevent our commerciality, but it says that the minimum percentage of homes at social or local housing allowance rent will be 50%. So we have a base below we won't go, but currently on the homes we're going to build over the next 10 years, 94% of those are at social or energy rent. So we're kind of on our own KPI, we're doing pretty well on that. And the key thing here is there are lots of animals in this space. There's the CICs, there's the social enterprise space, and in effect, that's a diffuse front trying to do as much good as it possibly can. Our approach was how do we instead of thinking horizontally about where social impact investment will come in, but it goes out in quite a diffuse way. Our approach was how do we make a CSR outcomes vertical? How do we get it straight from the ambition to do affordable homes to getting a key in the front door as quickly as you possibly can? American KPI, this is a key going in the front door, we're probably off target. And and then we looked at how do we do affordable housing. There are lots of different social impact mechanisms for those and keep for us. And we worked out that it is a fool's errand to keep on asking a commercial engine of housing development to build affordable homes. So it's a simple fool's errand because their financial model is about an exit. It's about cash out as quickly and with the least amount of risk as they possibly can. And they have people called viability teams, and those teams will be working very hard to explain to the local authorities why affordable housing cannot be delivered for a variety of semi-plausible reasons. So what we did was we constructed a commercial model that moved outside that conventional business as usual development, and we structured a different way of doing it, which is not dissimilar to what everybody else is doing. And then we do skills training and education, and we're a limited company, so we can't qualify for grants to support that. CIC could, a charity could, and we can't get gift aid. So we have actually just set up a separate charity. It's called Woodbridge, completely separately governed to us. But what we're doing is transferring all of the skills training know-how that we built up, working with HMPPS and others. And because it's about working with prisoners, ex-offenders, people at risk of offending, so NEETs that might be at risk of offending, and the board of trustees is, the chair of trustees is actually somebody who spent 20 years inside prison, where he was able to do his O-levels, his A-levels, and a degree in law. He's banned, he's not allowed to be a lawyer, but he has a degree in law, and he actually works in the private sector now. And we call that an ecosystem. Let limited companies do what it does in its best way, and then create the right kind of rules to allow for the ecosystem to deliver the net benefit, not any one organization.
Thank you. And I've had a parallel journey at YCG where trying to bridge the intersections between public, private and third sectors is really quite difficult, and strategically you need to work out how you're going to do it. We came up with this hybrid corporate structure. So like Red, we've got this charity, we have a community interest company, we add increasingly trying to focus the charity work inside the gate because it's very hard to raise any kind of funds to support certain business. But CIC was focusing more on work outside the gate in terms of setting planning, setting play. There is a trend maybe that Ollie may be able to throw some light on where funding is becoming increasingly restricted to CICs because charitable givers don't really understand the structure. And because we're working with private sector and big corporates, they want to treat people that they're working with as part of their supply chain. And they really know how to work with charity or with the community interest company, metaphor within a few of those companies to try and create an interface with our sponsoring employers. So very similar journey to yours, Tara. Right. We've talked about policy and about objectives which we're trying to achieve. Now, are there any kind of structural impediments that we see in terms of delivering the CSR benefits that we really want to achieve practically within our organisations? And so there's a pinch points with the way that you're working with local authorities and delivering it's a very interesting one, which we haven't really touched on in terms of the proposition you give to a local authority doesn't involve the divestment of an asset, but rather you're taking on the bills and then subleasing to a registered provider to deliver accommodation to refugees and others at a much lower cost of carers than they're currently spending on bed breakfasts and hotels. But being a bit too simplistic with all.
No, it's that is the model basically. Well, that's one aspect that we just sort of came up with by engaging with the councils. When you talk about pinch points and things, it is a bit of a theme I have in the sense that this business sort of has to be a CIC or something like that. Because, agile like ours, I've discovered here, we're just a standard limited liability company, but we're doing the right thing, we're trying to do the thing, and yet we're denied access to certain funds and various things like that. We are doing, as I say, we're employing prisoners on day release, we're employing ex-prisoners on our permanent staff, we are building social housing, we're doing all of those things, and we've never had a single penny from the government. And what I have is just a constant parade of people from government, civil servants and people who want to come and visit. And I just look at them and I just think, all this money that's getting spent and all these people who are writing reports and basically doing nothing, and we're actually doing these things day to day, and we can't access these things. But it's just on the long list of the inefficiency of the public sector. The relocatable model, what we're doing, if you just want a bit more explanation, we have developed a range that is fully relocatable, and councils have land. They've got this temporary accommodation profit, they're paying hotel bills. We're getting land from them. We are doing it the deal is peppercorn. They're leasing it to us on a peppercorn, which is effectively nothing. We're providing the home, and they are paying effectively LHA because the central government reimburses council at LHA rates. So instead of them paying hotel bills, they're getting LHA, they're paying us LHA, and so this shrinks from a huge cost down to nothing. And so that's sort of quite attractive to them. It's, their internal, with one council we're working with, they've disclosed their internal workings and all the rest of it. For each home we're delivering, they're saving roughly £38,000 cash a year. and their residents are living in a EPC A-rated 3-bedroom home instead of hotel rooms. Actually, I met the Director of Social Services of the council a few months ago, and they've said that they've got a disabled family that's been living in a hotel room for more than 2 years because they can't rent a disabled access property in the marketplace. And this to me is absolutely fundamentally wrong, and that's what we are trying to do. We're saying, well, fight as a man, we'll build a disabled access home for you. So,
Yeah, it has to be way forward.
Yeah, well, just to chip in on that, and we have a National Disability Fund that its job is to try and create not the new builds, but neighbourhood renovated properties. And I would say the limiting factor is the understanding of the council has of their options, and we are showing what we can do. A number of people that think it's a good idea, but they can't get it through those systems to get it to happen quickly. Just with a quick return to the idea of structure, because the idea of what is a social enterprise is a really critical thing we spend a lot of time thinking about. I would say, if we wanted to say what's a social enterprise, we had to define it. It's probably a community interest. What we did in the early 2000s was try and create a sort of legal structure that was somewhere between the charity and private limited company, because we wanted to create social businesses that had at their core positive impact, but they had some ability to do commercial things where they had a mission block and the ability to say that in the long term they wouldn't get bought by somebody else and turn into a non-positive structure. So I think that the policy intention between creating the community interest company structure is positive, but it's the ecosystem around it then has to make it. I always say this is a joint sector. We need to make that not a disadvantage, but an advantage. So if you can't have equal access to finance because you're a KIC, and you can be a KIC limited by shares, you can be a KIC limited by guaranteed, so you can be even closer to charity than KIC, or you can be even closer to a private limited company. But then find always because you're a company limited by shares, community interest company. Try and find an entity investor that will invest in that equity. They can be long-term risk sharing capital. Those investors don't exist because typical equity investors don't understand KIC structure. Or they do understand it, but what they understand from it is it's going to take away my ability to sell the assets, to scale the business out and it. So you need a new type of social equity investor. So this is the challenge of real is what does the investor need to look like? How does the world of money need to adapt to allow more businesses to be absolutely socially minded? So thinking back to CSR, which I think has been integrated as opposed to being programmed and run alongside with business. For us to move to integrated, these bits of the jigsaw need to start to make sense to each other. And that is like the critical piece for us is, it's not necessarily the policy bit. Policy is there. It's whether the ecosystem around it, particularly the world of finance, understands it and works with, sees the advantages, and then finds ways of making that feed into limited grants and funds. Whereas, when they tell us to we need minimum IRR of X, those social impacts. And you kind of go, okay, let's go back through this idea. You can have built this is one of the things that actually really problematic about the ESG movement sometimes as an investor perspective. It's kind of said, good companies have good ESG, therefore you get higher returns and good ESG. You can see the logic for governance. A company with good governance, and to some extent, sustainable supply chain will have more profitability in the future. But that really, really simplifies the idea of more positive social impact.
Well, one of the things very interesting feeds off that is the fact that we are all on CSR journey, and CSR is all about values and what we are trying to develop in terms of our society going forward and what's important to us, protecting the environment, building nice homes to live in, having genuine attainment and so on. And we can all collaborate together. And I think collaboration is going to be key. That there are many people who are thinking, well, we are part way on our journey. We do it sort of unconsciously, constantly, in terms of recycling our waste. And there's lots of things that we all do. You may not have got forward accreditation or for policy in place, but you are doing things. And one area of collaboration I think creates business is an exemplar of is this idea of carbon credits. So you can buy a carbon credit as an organization to lean into Craig's CXR accreditations and say, as part of your reporting, to say, we buy carbon credits with Agile Homes, and that's helping us on our own CSR journey. And having noticed in so on, we adopt that already quite well, haven't they? But that CSR work that we do on carbon reduction, low carbon, and carbon credits is actually carbon credit element is subsidizing build or social housing, making it more affordable.
And the social impact we generate by doing, we're also monetizing, which is a slightly dirty word if you're in the social impact space. But it's cash, money, equity has to find a route to solving some of these problems. And one of the challenges we saw, that there is amazing work being done by so many people, but in housing, it becomes a marginal impact because of the way that the model is set up to release cash for the property investors. So it was always going to be marginal. And so we looked at, how do we bring new money into this space? How do we actually make it really simple? Cash. And so what we have done is, Angus and I have had a similar journey. How do you help unlock the potential of land that might be existing in local authorities? What we don't do is lease that as a business. What we do is get that land passed through to a housing association, charity, so there is a transaction. And the only way we can do that transaction, so on the lease model, it's a peppercorn. So we have to demonstrate to, say, Bristol City Council, and we've done 8 times with Bristol City Council, that the land should be transferred at social value. So how do you do that? You use the public sector's social value calculators. There's something called the National TOMS, Themes, Outcomes and Measures, which is a fairly arcane bit of space that all public sector procurement has to be done by. So we downloaded their calculators, we downloaded the council calculators, we downloaded everybody's calculators, and there are 200 financial measures of social impact that can be created. So when Hinkley Point wants to demonstrate that the public sector procurement's national TOM, the stats are, it'll say, how many jobs did we create? Are we decarbonising our grid? Yes, that's a tier on the calculation. So what we do is we have, say Bristol City Council had a land for maybe worth £200,000 in the open market, and if we have demonstrated using their own social value calculator that releasing it to cumulative land trust, CBS, CIC, or some other entity, not us, because we're a limited company, we can't speculate on that land, so we just see it pass through us. Effectively, I have a public sector diligence discount of £200,000. What if that money were real? And that's what we then said. So how do we take that and turn that into real land? And then we go with bio-based materials. So these fuel lamps, the straw, that's actually it's actually this room that's meant straw. Yeah, I know. I put in there first. So in effect, nature does the capture. We're doing the storage. So it's not offsetting, it is the storage. And that's quite hard. Sometimes people go, wait a minute, are you double bubbling the carbon credits? We're not. We're just charging for the storage. And then we then go to the corporates who are legally obligated under UK and European law to demonstrate how they're reducing their carbon. That's pretty tough after a while. So they are desperately hunting for offsets and credits. And of course, with climate change, a lot of the forests we see burning, 2 of the forests in Portugal were offset forests that burned last summer. So there's a new language in corporate sector called insetting, not offsetting. And insetting is what's nearer to home that we can legitimately claim as a carbon credit. So we're doing the credits and storage. Then I have this public diligence discount. So I then go and speak to their ESG team, who we haven't talked about. So the ESG team are desperate for good news stories for their corporate entity, and that's marketing. So effectively, ESG kind of touches the marketing team. And so what better pitch do we have to say, buy 1 ton of carbon storage as a credit, which you're legally obligated to, but get 10 tons of social value and social impact. And the nature of that impact on this social value is a guilty purchase. So you and I might see a big issue, sir. I might have a magazine for £3, and we might only have a flyer with me saying, keep change. Not everybody would do that, but some people say it's okay. You just keep the £2. It's yours. That's a guilt gift at that moment. So we have just completed the world's first trade. So it's a trading platform for carbon and social value tokens. With a tier 1 legal firm, we decided to make it really difficult for ourselves. They work in social housing a lot, and eventually they said, "Oh, this is so good." Took 9 months to get them to say, "This is so good." They've done all the contracts pro bono for us because of the social impact we were already creating. And the first trade is for a 2-bedroom home in Bristol, not dissimilar to what Angus is doing. 2-bedroom for a Ukrainian woman refugee with 2 young children. The trade is £45,000. That is twice what Bristol and Council gets for affordable housing grants. And the punchline is, Rachel Reeves said, we're going to build 1.5 million homes, which is effectively doubling housing supply in the UK. So that doubling the current barely doable numbers. And guess what? There will be no public money going into the delivery of any of those homes. So there has to be new money. And so we believe and have a pathway for both carbon reduction, A+ rated 3-bedroom would have carbon credits available to it. We add carbon storage as well, but the social impact that Angus and everybody else here is doing needs to be monetized. Otherwise, we are just doing marginal impact, and we believe we found a way of doing it.
Can I ask you actually help me go under that?
Like Angus, you can get meetings, but it's very hard. We've also just had to change the government, so there's lots of new people in post. We're working weirdly with the FCDO, which is the Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office. What is it? Yeah, weirdly, because they see this as something they could internationalise. UK, let's go and do it in Central Asia or wherever they're targeting. And James Timpson, who was our new minister, probably one of the better appointments because he lives and breathes exactly what Angus and we are doing. So we've got an open invitation to we should double hand that invitation. The reality is all the government can do is tweak the policies. What they can't do is say, don't buy homes from Angus and Fred. They can't do that, and they won't do that. So it's they just need to probably make it marginally easier and then get out of the way.
The company treaty, excuse me for interrupting, the company treaty, so proposes and all that lot, have an obligation to engage with their social housing contribution.
Well, the ultimate is most possible.
Yeah, all of those corporates have obligations under law anyway, but they don't see it as part of their co-business. So a house builder would kind of say, well, yeah, we'll write £1 million out for ESG this year. If you're applying, you'll be doing $2 billion a year on ESG roughly. But they'll be putting that into equally good stuff, heart defibrillators and things like that. And
Which also with something else.
yeah, so I think Angus and I sit in the solutions space, a housing solutions space, but they're too far up the tree to even spot it when it's in front of their noses. So that's where private finance, I think, is possibly the one that's going to be the engine.
Before we come into the Q&A section, because I think we're going to have that comes out. I just wanted to, before I ask the next question, which will be about the future direction of CSR and affiliates, we're thinking it's going to be next 5 years. I just wanted to measure a little bit best what, just how we measure impact of ICT, because I come back to that government thing in terms of what HNPBS officially saying about the costs of refund. And then you can look at vendors, you can actually build out a lot of the statistics in terms of the number of individuals who achieve accommodation status, post-release, employment status, and we've had external consultants actually drill down into each other role and say essentially that there is a multiplier effect based on each of these stats. So if you get someone to engage with their sentence planning and then in settlement, they're invested in trying to better our lives. And there is a measurable statistic if they do any positive engagement with one of those things. Similarly, any form of educational tech was just an whether it's a soft skills course, it's hard skills, so any level, someone's 89% more likely to become employed. If they're in employment, they're 9% less likely statistically to risk. If they're in accommodation, they're 50% less likely to reoffend. So if you take each of those elements and say, we need engagement first of all, as any intervention, no matter how well intentioned, is never going to fly. We used to have very haphazard results. So leading into cost engagement, then education and training, employment, population, you get those multiplier effects. So we have a social impact report which says that for every pound invested in YCG, there's £14.24 return on social capital and new tax debt. So these things can be measured. This is something that you could do with your own businesses if you're involved in any kind of social value aspect in terms of what we do, or you can lean into Angus's business or Craig's business and be doing some social good, which you can then report as part of your own form of reporting, improving your own CSR credentials. And that is becoming increasingly important in terms of tenders. I'm sure that any tenders that you do for the government, even now through your supply chains, you're being asked all these questions because a lot of big companies, like what you mentioned earlier, they're reporting their CSR and ESG credentials, and they're requiring their supply chain vendors to actually deliver that for them.
Can I give us live results? So in the process of starting our most recent enterprise investment fund, which we've designed in mind for corporates, we had a kind of 4-month engagement with a large personal and listed corporate company in the construction sector about them potentially investing in our fund. And it started with us, we had a connection with them, we went and met them, and they described what they do for their CSR, ESG, and that they are involved in the built environment. They have really strong environmental, science-based data around what the environmental impact of a build they run. And then we asked them about their social, and their social was that each year they gave some money to 3 charities. I asked which 3 charities, checked, sure, and somebody found it. So it's the Port Workers of Amsterdam charity, what they do. Anyway, the point, so we sort of let this play out and said, look, it's really interesting. If you've got loads of really chunky data that you call the environmental and environment impact and the carbon effect of your buildings, but if we ask you what you think social means, or what positive social impact means, you say, we give some ignorance chat. And so we said, Our specialism is that bit. We've spent the last 20 years trying to understand how to measure, if you can measure, what you should measure, how if you've measured and reported, social impact, social change, positive social impact. And it's not perfect, and I think we're always a little bit cautious of giving a monetary value for something which is much important money people's outcomes in life. But social return on investment is a measure which now lots of people can understand and see that. But I think that in the end, that corporate, after 3 or 4 months of us talking through how we do things, showing them due diligencing at home, they decided to do it themselves. But in some sense, we feel it's a good outcome because they've set up a foundation, or they have a foundation doing gardening. And the foundation now, if you read the website, it reads like a sort of social impact fund. They've got the terms we told them, they've got ways of measuring it, they've commissioned some research, getting to the same. We walk away about thinking, okay, fine. They probably will always want to keep it in-house because they want ultimately to own it as part of their own ESG. And potentially we were naive in letting them have 4 months worth of our time pro bono to get speed. But actually, that's an outcome we're happy with in terms of they are now doing social impact better. Maybe not as well as they could have done if they worked with us, but still a good outcome. But that idea of what was wanted in all this CSR journey, getting better understanding social. When you think here, there are people who are the social are very clear, are very centred. We do things in an eastern point of contact.
Absolutely. My final question before we go to Q&A then is when we think CSR is going over the next 5 years, and I thought bringing into the mix many CSR, ESG and EDI, so lots of acronyms there. CSR, for social responsibility, it's values-based. It's not currently legal requirements, but it's arcing that way and following ESG, which is environmental social governance. That's UN driven. So there are highly positive profiles which feed into domestic legislation. And it's a sort of quasi-legislation. There's principles of policy explaining it at the moment. And then you get into EDI, quality, diversity, inclusivity, where it's very much a legislative framework. Where do you think, Ollie, that the whole we've sort of see us where we're going to be in 5 years?
Well, where I hope will be is that all of those things, all of these areas will start to collide positively. If nothing else, it's starting to use the same language. And the bit that fills me with some hope for that is that over the course of what business has been doing the last couple of years, we've seen the construction sector and their interpretation of the social values. We see property owners in London with their Section 106 coming to us to say, how do we get social values? We've seen ESG for the large corporates starting to try and take that seriously. The CSR moving from people really understand this is not a program, it's something you integrate into a business. So I think in 5 years' time, if all of these are coming together, for us as the impact investing sector, we've kind of bypassed all of the acronyms and said, well, you think positive, measurable social impact is possible. You just have to make it thing you measure and make it important. So hopefully, if we could not end up getting sort of too confused by the different things and realise there's a common language, when we sat them at the head of social value, we were talking the same language. She wants to talk about theory of change. How do you measure these changes in people's lives? We sort of us. We have common language, even if you're calling it different things. So I hope that we'll common is it nothing else. We must still use all the same acronyms, but we'll start to realise that there's a common language that we're kind of talking about the same.
Thank you. And Angus?
I think philosophically, I think we have to become much more caring as a society. I think we've become very intolerant and aggressive and argumentative generally. And I think the CSR and what have you is really the softening of that, I think, as a society for us. So it's very important. As an SME, I just shudder in fear of regulation. It's just more and more cost for a small business. It's just so hard. So really, I'm conflicted in the sense that I'm involved in it. I want to see more of it. I philosophically believe in it, but as a victim of the cost and regulation and reporting and all the rest of it, I didn't say I want to see a lot more of regulation. I don't think that's...
You're articulating a position that is very much coming out tonight. US in particular, there's been quite a big kickback against an ESG, like Tony Castle, and the Republican Party at the moment, they're very much just pushing back about, the price of gas and the costs of not fracking and so on. So there has been a bit of a pushback with the cost of living increase by the inception of the Ukraine war. I would like to think that none of us will be talking about it in 5 years, but because it's so embedded in everything that we do, we understand it, we do it intuitively in our businesses, and I would hope that maybe some of these kind of populist agendas that are driving some of the discord that you've intimated, Angus, may die down a bit, and we will become more caring and more interested in the wider social good that we can achieve if collectively we work in a way that makes our society better. But you have a cohesive idea that what does our society look like at local level, but also that's a national and international level. Incredible. Last comment on that point.
Well, 5 years' time, the cultural war may have exploded and died back down. I'm just thinking if I type those acronyms into Twitter now, I would have to drop the phone because, I just get raged at by the libertarians that exist in our society. But if I typed in Section 106 agreement, I would get no rules at all. And the Section 106 agreement is effectively a formalized methodology for delivering social impact from the commercial house builder sector. Zero noise. The average American wouldn't even know what I was talking about. So, but the reality is something will need to shift. And we were talking earlier about, we're kind of going back to a kind of Victorian wealth collection model, and that more people are now falling away from wealth and are at risk. I think the stats are something like, 25% of the population is 1 month income away from having no options in a job. And culture wars are always there. We go back to the 70s and seatbelts. Somebody would be raging about seatbelts, smoking in pubs. People were raging about that. And there's a little rage going on about smoking outside pubs. There's always rage. And that in Bristol. Well, of course, we're the hotbed of woke thinking, aren't we, up in Bristol? But and also Taunton as well, in the southwest generally. They want to say that Bristol is the place of... In a way, you just got to keep on cutting through. We've just got to keep on ignoring the noise. And my view, if we can better systemize the way in which the pound beats the person through whatever vehicles for social impact, and if we can shorten those layers, and not to challenge anyone, but actually there's quite a lot of money wants to do good. It just doesn't know how to do it or find the path or the shortest path to do it. So I think we will probably, through financial mechanisms, start to restructure. To get us out of this, you have to be a charity to do that, you have to be a CIC to do this, so you have to be a limited company to generate profit. So in 5 years' time, we'll either have done it, or it's just going to be worse. So we're going to have to do one.
To end the formal session, but I would like to the audience to raise any questions that you have. I hope for thoughts that you did have some thoughts and contributions you'd like to make.
Is there any rage in the room?
Is it anything controversial?
I think some of that for me feels like one of them is moving from a shareholder capitalist model to a stakeholder capitalist model. I heard that said business in the past. What does that mean? And I think all of these little needles inside of it are moving us towards it's not okay, like it was in the neoliberal free market period of the 80s and 90s in the West Indies, to just be motivated by shareholders. I feel like it's increasingly difficult for a member of any law becoming to sit front and say, what matters here again? More than anything else is shareholder price. And in my lifetime, so my career so far, I started in 2006, just about called Taylor and big sat in meeting with people who said, nothing else matters. You know your job, get profit, get paid payment to shareholders. To I think it being harder to see that. You have to be quite consider what if you're checking to the narrative that we should be listening to.
Yeah, still BlackRock, there's been under a bit of pressure to roll back from raising funds for the ESG purposes at the time that some of those being called it's a bit more corporate shareholder value.
Because that argument will still stack up. Because if you only measure pounds profits, then you will see those as ultimately being the primary importance.
I'm going to ask a question a little bit. Have any of you been on, in terms of your journey on CSR, are you actively trying to drive forward the gentleman over there?
We're very early in our journey, I'd say. We're a construction company. Work with the public and private sector and try to work out best the way to approach the public sector. There is a responsibility, and we do what you said earlier about we give social, we have charities that we sponsor and what have you, and give up time to work with local soil enterprises. But how we go about doing that, it is quite a struggle. In the best and sort of simplest path without sort of urging massively is quite hard to do.
Yeah, I was talking to one of the directors and status of the Gloucester business show about 6 months ago, and he was saying that being wanted to demonstrate that his company was actually doing something in the CSR space had made difference between winning a tender and not winning a tender, in the sense that they progressed from saying, we're not going to do something if we win the contract, to this is our track record, we are currently doing this in community, and we'd like to be able to continue that journey. So
yes, and then once you won the tender, then actually going from the intangible to tangible, demonstrating that you've actually done that, is even harder then, because you then lose the trust and value associated to them who actually haven't.
I think like a lot, or being on this, especially for the public sector, it's the reporting it, and area might well find to make one of the things, but some of them want that, some of them you don't, you haven't demonstrated, you have to be able to report on it. And then the private sector, it's not really allowed me at the minute then. So it's like we're, for like most companies, like you said, we're unconsciously confident acting for value, but it's then being conscious and then causing it, measuring it, things like that. So I think it's just still a learning curve.
Well, I would certainly encourage you to lean into other people's CSR accreditations. Employer prison leave, lean into become a socially responsible employer, and then people will see that you're trying to add value and do social good. It's an easy thing to do. That person needs the job, but really a more loyal employee and a longer serving employee for your organisation than somebody that doesn't have connection. So,
also, we're really conscious that as a team, people who have some money from other people that invest into businesses, and then, in a sense, require those businesses to be social enterprises or to that first businesses. I'm doing really aware it's hard running a business. It's hard surviving, hard growing. So us then saying, well, we do extra reporting. We need to know all about that. We wouldn't be together. Who are those business people? Tell us, I want to quarter your report, and we write for funds each quarter. We write an impact with some adjective, an annual report per fund, and then residents that we write an impact. So one of the things we try and help our enterprise investors is to send the reporting needs to be important and useful for you. It needs to add to your ability to go and market your business. But it needs to be important information to you, so it's stuff you want to strategically understand about what we're doing, and that displays your impact. And we do a lot of help for that. So I think the reporting bit is what big, and then you could almost end up, because it's different people work with clients, creating something initially you think, who cares about this?
There's a lot of hard yards that have to be done, and sometimes you think, are we creating the impact we think it should? And I would hope that your construction company say, well, actually, could we employ an ex-offender? And naturally, everybody will become, so ex-offenders and that could be part of that. And of course, there is HMPPS and the Ministry of Justice. There are psychologists. There are huge layers that are put in place to support that journey, not being a risk journey for the employer, but actually a positive relationship. We were very nervous. We all, colleagues asked the question, were they a sex offender? And that's the first thing that everybody goes to. But then you meet people. So if you want to find out more about this, as you go to there's New Meaning Foundation is the part of the HMPPS. No, it's not New Meaning Foundation. It's New Future Network. Yes, there's lots of some. New Futures Network. So basically, it's really simple. In prison, prisoners are doing one of three things right now, right here. They're either on punishment, so 23 hours on punishment, in education, or in what the NOJ call industry. Industry is the space that Angus and I and others working. And that can be that nobody sells mailbags anymore, but it can be very, very low skilled stuff inside prison workshop, or it can be very, very construction. And the pathway into construction is long established. Well, the Dixon Waite Sellers are doing this. If I went to a large construction site now and said, has anybody ever done time? Not everybody who volunteered, but one or two would say about, when I was 19, I got to trial and something like that. So the construction industry has embraced ex-offenders for a long time. The opportunity stands in, but when you do work with that organization to look at somebody that might graduate into a business, and these guys are desperate. Yeah. They're desperate to not do what they did last time.
First of all, I'm retired. I listened to the news last night and I was extremely impressed. Listening to you, I feel really optimistic. However, I was talking to a lady outside about the apprenticeships earlier on. You haven't mentioned that. Is there a link clever ploy? Because obviously finance is just mechanistic and it comes down to it. So is there an ability to use the fact that some companies can pass on their apprenticeship levy, if you like, to their supply chain, to cleverly use that to fund some of this? And I think they're going to change apprenticeship levies into skills training as well. So
yes, you're right.
can we do it?
The answer is yes. The law was changed in October 23, I think, to allow serving prisoners for the first time to become apprenticeship apprentices. So that's a major advance for employers. It has always been the case that the apprenticeship levy can be transferred. So if you're an employer, you're required to, against a turnover of 3 million for an employment to the payroll of more than £3 million, then you're obliged to pay a percentage of payroll into the levy. And if you're not utilising that, you can give up to a quarter of the apprenticeship levy to any other business that wants to engage an apprentice. So it is a very affordable way of asking individuals. And it's hoped, we're waiting for the policy to come out as flesh on the bones about exactly what can be done in terms of utilising apprenticeship levy for pre-apprenticeship working experience programs, because that's another very important area. So we've, as an organisation, have been looking at different types of zoning prisons and prison leavers. Obviously, prisoners come from all walks of life, often are very skilled trades of their own right, and they're job ready for when they come out. Others may have no work experience or work experiences relevant to a role at all, and they need a work experience program that's going to allow them to not lose their benefits, because that's the major economic indicator for wanting to branch out into the world of work. And it's too much sometimes to ask, say, an ill offender to come out of custody and then go into work with a 9-to-5 job. It's too much. They've got other support needs that they need to address. And our pre-start program, which one of our trustees originated with Bristol City Council back in 2017, that is a successful model for helping care leavers, prison leavers into work, trying different things, and people had to fail. So one of that was about cars. You wanted to become a mechanic, went into a garage. About 2-3 weeks out, we like the environment, so of cars. But he's ended up becoming a full-time enjoyer.
So on that, then, will a company that isn't using all its apprenticeship levy itself to fund its own staff be able to pass some over to you? And then basically, if you could use that funding to train the individuals, prison, they can then pay, if you like past tax under corporate social responsibility back into their...
Yes, and some of that our sponsoring employers have done that with us.
Okay. Yeah.
The other thing is that often our experiences in ex-handlers and people in prison, there's a whole other category of people not in employment, education, training. Normally people see that as young people, but it's anyone. It can be ex-military, it could be somebody who recently made redundant and wants to do something. So it's not that you have to just embrace the offender journey here, but there are young people at risk of offending that would also, because if you can pick them up early, then we're making a serious step in the 18 billion, because you help them get on a pathway. So it's not about doing, because it is quite difficult to decide that whether to work with the prison system. It's not an easy choice.
I think I'll wrap up by saying that that's a very good point, right? It's not just about helping people that have already got convictions, for anybody that becomes homeless, much more likely to offend. For anybody that hasn't got a job, they're more likely to offend. So we need to find a way of creating housing for all of our citizens, which is, or at least decent quality, and we need to be able to try and employ as many people as possible so they're contributing to the exchequer. So on that note, I would very much like to thank our panel today. And thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed it.